All right, hello everyone. My name is Kordell Snyder, and this is my second year in ISM, and this year I decided to study business leadership. So a little bit about me. This is my mom, Charmaine. This is my little sister, Sloan, and this is my dad, Brent. I got a little dog named Aggie. She's not so little. She's about 110 pounds and about 9 years old. She's a little fat. This is me right here. This is the varsity football team. This is, sadly, hopefully not my last year playing football, but it's been a good ride. I enjoyed it a lot. Taught me a lot about life and what I needed to do in order to succeed. And it was a good year. Next year, I plan on attending the university or Kansas State University, and I plan on majoring in mechanical engineering. Last year in ISM, I decided to do. I did mechanical engineering. That was a great year. This year, I decided to do something different a little bit because in this class, it's not so much about learning the field, it's more about exposing yourself to the field and discovering if it's really what you wanted to do. So I realized that if I wanted to do engineering, I really wasn't going to have the time or the ability to so much learn about engineering as far as the physics behind it. I was just going to be able to learn the process more, which I already understood, so I figured I'd get a different side of the career field. So the reason I decided to do business leadership is because no matter what field you go to, you're always going to have those same basic skills. How to develop relationships, how to become a greater leader, how to lead your team, whether it's a project manager or a doctor leading your practice, a construction worker leading your team. Anything you do, you have to be able to have those basic leadership qualities that allow you to expose yourself and grow your team around you and achieve that ultimate goal. Another reason I decided to do it is because it's always the best thing in order to be a servant leader. No matter what you do, it's always best to put yourself before others and allow yourself to put others before you so that they can go and prosper. All right, so this is a quick little video. Is the volume on? I'll start it over. It's a good little video. It made me smile. It's hard for me to watch kids give such a really good speeches and not smile. So
I think we all need a pep talk. The world needs to stop being boring. Yeah, boring is easy. Everybody can be boring, but you're good at that. Life is not a game, people. Life isn't a cereal either. Well, it is a cereal. And if life is a game, are we on the same team? I mean, really, right? I'm on your team, be on my team. This is life, people. You got air coming through your nose. You got heartbeat. That means it's time to do something. A poem. 2 roads diverged in the woods, and I took the road less traveled. It hurt, man! Really bad. Rocks, boards, and glass. My parts broke. Wah! Not cool, Robert Frost. But roads that weren't too fast. I won't be the one that leads to awesome. It's like that dude Journey said. Don't stop believing. Unless you dream stupid. Then you should get a better dream. I think that's how it goes. Get a better dream that keep going. Keep going, and keep going. Will Michael Jordan have quit? Well, he did quit. No, he retired. Yeah, he retired. But before that, in high school, what if he quit when he didn't make the team? He would have never made Space Jam. And I love Space Jam. What will be your Space Jam? What will you create will make the world awesome? Nothing if you keep sitting there. That's why I'm talking to you today. This is your time. This is my time. It's our time. We can make every day better for each other. If we're all on the same team, let's start acting like it. We got work to do. We can cry about it, or we can dance about it. We were made to be awesome. Let's get out there. I don't know everything. I'm just a kid. But I do know this. If everybody's good, it gives the world a reason to dance. So get to it. Pep talk. Create something that will make the world awesome. Play ball.
All right, so when I was putting this presentation together, I really was just trying to look for hold on. I was just looking for something that I was going to be able to show everyone that would really just explain what business leadership was. But then I was Googling and I found this video, and it just, I don't know what it is, but something about the innocence of kids, and they're just trying to give you the motivation to go out and do something. It's beautiful. It makes me smile. I smiled again. But he says, go out and make the world awesome. Go out and make something that makes the world dance and be a better place. So that doesn't have to be, go build a new car, go build a new computer. It can be just you putting yourself out there and going out and giving the world yourself and using your skills however it best fits you, and empowering other people to do great things. And if it means that you can go out, you can go ahead and sit down. I don't mind. If it means you need to go out and build something, that's great. That's awesome. It's beautiful. It's awesome. But not everyone's meant to make something. Everyone has a purpose. It all depends on what you all want to do. You can go out and you can put your skills and do what you got to do in order to make the world dance and become a better place. So that was just a quick little video. And to tie it into that, my quote, which was last year and this year, is: "A dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work." And this is by Colin Powell, the former Defense Secretary of Defense. And that just ties into that video. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be great. You just have to go out and have the work ethic to go out and to strive in order to do greatness, and want to do something that changes the world and makes it a better place. All right. So my research up to this point has I did a couple research assessments over behavioral habits and how people respond to different types of interactions, and ultimately, like, if you were to say something that was to the effect of, like, hey, what's up? And they just said, hey, what's up? You really don't get anything out of that conversation, as compared to, someone saying, hey, how's it going? And then you have they respond with something that's more a little bit like, hey, life's great. I'm doing this. I just did this in my life, and it's really good. Got this going for me. And then it builds off a conversation, and it creates a response, little diagram, response, and a positive reaction. So, being able to just understand those different behavior habits and how people respond to the stimulus, and their emotional resilience, or how they respond and how they interpret things, really just allows you to be able to understand, the thought process behind the human being. And everyone interprets stuff a different way, but we all have that same basic. We have positive emotion, we have negative emotion, and it's all about how you interpret it. And everyone interprets it their own way. But being able to understand that really allows you to just go out and be able to instill what you need to put into them in order to allow them to become a more effective person, and them to be able to be more productive, and being able to get both of y'all to the same goal of what you want to do. The next thing I did was leadership traits. One of the main ones is servant leadership, being able to put yourself before others and being able to do the hard work and not just order everyone else around you to do it for you. Everyone knows the basic leadership traits. You gotta have charisma, you gotta have determination, but no one ever really thinks about the things that's like self-motivation. You have to be able to motivate yourself. You can't be motivated by everyone around you, because if you're the leader in that situation, you're not going to be able to motivate the other people if you're not motivated yourself. So no one really thinks about those various different leadership traits that don't so much happen behind the scenes as much as on the front lines. All right, so up to now I've had 4 interviews. I apologize for the first picture; it's a little blurry. It's the only one I could get, so I'll have to ask Rachel for a different one. So the first interview I had was with Mr. Philip Cleveland, which was Rachel's dad. He is the Director of Finance Operations at JCPenney. It was a great interview. It was my first interview of the year. It was at JCPenney out in Plano. And the first thing he ever said when I asked him, what's the most important thing in being able to be a businessman and being able to go out and get a job in whatever profession. And the thing he said was that you got to be marketable. You got to be able to go out and make yourself more desirable as compared to the next person in line, or the next guy that's in college, and they're like, why should I hire you when I can wait 2 months and wait till this guy comes out of college? You got to be able to make yourself marketable and stand out. The next thing he said was being able to build relationships and have those people skills that allow you to create relationships, because every single interaction in our life has to do with relationships. If you have a good friend, that relationship's been built on for years, probably years and years and years of just experiences, life lessons, whatever it is. But that relationship has been building, and the reason you're allowed to have that interaction between you two is because you have built that relationship and you're able to understand each other. And so the most important thing is being able to build relationships with the people that allow you to further your own growth and as well further their growth. Another thing that he said was really important when I asked him about what the number one skill he had when he was interviewing for jobs, and he said that you can never have a negative answer to a question, because he said, that most times employers are trying to get you to say something bad about your old company, or see how you're going to respond to why you left that other company, to see if you're going to say the same thing about their company. Because if you go to a company and they ask you, why'd you leave your old company? You say, man, my boss sucked. He was terrible. They're going to think, well, what are you going to say when you leave here? What are you going to say about your boss? Is he going to suck too? Because they don't want that for their company, because it looks bad on them. So the questions that employers are going to ask you, he said, are going to be those questions that evaluate how you respond and your emotional response as far as that. And so that you got to be able to not manipulate, but you got to be able to rehearse your answers per se about how you can respond to that question. Why'd you leave your old company? With a more of a positive answer, such as, I left it because it was time for me to move on. I was looking for new opportunities, as compared to saying, as compared to saying, it was terrible, it was an awful job, I didn't enjoy it, because that makes you look bad. And it's just, even if you have to stretch the truth a little, it makes yourself more marketable again. Another thing he said was being flexible. You got to be able to go out and not, go to college and get, your degree in this, and you have to be that. You have to do that. You can't do that, because in today's changing world, you're never going to be able to do, maybe 1% of the population is going to be able to do exactly what they want to do. But most of the time, you're going to have to go out, you're going to have to venture a little and find something that you didn't exactly plan on doing, but you're going to love it. You got to be able to go out there and be flexible and be adjustable, and not so closed-minded and narrow-minded as to what you wanted to do. So that was a great interview. My second interview was with Mr. Richard Green. We've been our families have been friends. His daughter, or his stepdaughter, and my sister hang out all the time, so I knew him. So it was a good interview. We had an interview at Starbucks. We talked about college, and I was really, at the time, I was really kind of questionable about what I wanted to do. I didn't really know if I still wanted to do engineering, or if I wanted to do something a little more broad, such as business. And we talked about how he actually did go. He went to college to be an engineer, and where he is now, he's the director of finance and operations at Texas Instruments. So even though he went to get his engineering degree, he's still doing something that has to do with accounting and finance. And so that was like, okay, cool. Like I heard last year in all my interviews, engineering is a skill that you can take anywhere. It just means that you're very adaptable. You have that higher level of education. You can do whatever you need to do, as compared to something just a little more broad. But we talked about that, and we decided he's like, tell me about Kansas State. So we were talking about Kansas State, and he said, after I finished talking, he's like, you sound really passionate about that school, about any other school that you wanted to go to, and you sound really passionate about it, mechanical engineering. I think that's great. So go. He said, go to Kansas State. Go there. You really don't even decide what you really want to do until after your first 2 years of basic, required classes. So if to go that route. If you don't like it, then change. But he said, by the way you sounding really passionate about it, you're going to love it. So that really inspired me to be able to take the next step and say, okay, Kansas State is what I want to do. Mechanical engineering is what I want to do. So that was really good. My third interview was with Mr. Tom Montgomery. He is a partner / CEO at Montgomery Kasha Graylick LLP, and they are a CPA, a certified public accounting firm. And they are the number 4 ranked public accounting firm in in Dallas. Excuse me, sorry, that kind of flustered me. All right, so they're the number 4 ranked CPA in the state. So what a CPA firm does exactly is they go into various companies. They do the books for them. They do all the accounting to verify that the company itself is per se cooking the books, or making they're forging their sales records to make it look like they're being more profitable than they are, so that the stock investors or the investors or the stockholders get the real picture of what it is. So that's what his company does. The interview didn't last very long. He's a very busy man. We only had about a 20-minute interview, but it was good. It was good. We were able to talk about that, and being able to be smart. And he was talking about how when he was growing up, he wasn't really he didn't start off in a wealthy family, but as he was growing up, he just saved and saved. And he didn't really spend his money on going to debt. He saved his money. He was able to make wise investments, and he is where he is today, running a multi-million-dollar firm. So he was really just adamant about, you got to be smart with your money. You got to make wise investments and not be just go into debt and feel all careless. My fourth interview was with Mr. Rich Moret. He is the president of the Southwest region at Liberty Mutual Business Insurance, and that interview was by far the best interview I've had. He was really great guy. Allie's family is great. But no, he was a really great interview to be able to sit down and just talk through some stuff and just talk about life and what we'd each done in our lives and what I wanted to do and some of the other things. So the first thing we talked about was what's the most important skill to have and where you are today. And he said as being one of those managerial positions of leading a team, you got to have those people skills. You got to be able to go out and interact with those various people. You can't be really antisocial and not really say much. But hey, you got to be able to go out and build those relationships again and being able to just make the team more effective and be productive. The second thing we talked about was learning from your mistakes. You're always going to make mistakes. The important thing is that you learn from those mistakes so that you don't go out and continue making them. Because if you continue making them, then people are going to see that you're continuing to make those mistakes, and you're not learning from anything. And they're going to say he's not developing correctly because he's not learning from what he did in the past. He said he's still learning and developing today. Obviously, you learn from mistakes every day, so you can't ever think okay, I'm out of college, I'm done learning, I gotta move on with life. Start with this. You're never done learning. You're always learning from different people and interactions, and you always have to have an open mind and being able to learn from experiences. He said something that was really important to me because it seems like today's society, everyone's always looking for the next and best thing as far as their job goes. But he said your current job is the most important job, because if you don't focus on your job right now, you're never going to learn from it. You're never going to develop it and become fully productive. If you're at a low-level position in an accounting firm, and you're doing the basic books for another company, and you're focused on, okay, what's going to happen when my next promotion comes? What's going to happen? You're never going to get to that point, because if you're not taking care of your job right now, you're never going to get that full. You're never going to reach that full potential that job or that position can give you, because you're too focused on what's next and you're not focused on what's now. So your current job is the most important job because it allows you to develop your skills. And if you focus on everything else other than what you're doing right now, you're never going to be able to prosper in what you're doing. The next thing he said was another one of those, build off your mistakes, building off your weaknesses. A lot of people, he said, the great leaders, they admit their flaws, they understand their flaws, and they build off their flaws. They don't focus on, okay, I'm not a great public speaker, I guess I can't do public speaking, I can't do that. They think, okay, I'm not good at public speaking, I've got to be able to learn from that, I've got to be able to develop off that, and I've got to be able to move forward and becoming a better leader because of that. So he said, the great leaders are the ones that are able to understand their flaws and their weaknesses, and being able to go out there and develop a plan that allows you to become, better at those and not suffer from those weaknesses. The last thing he said was really the most important thing to me out of that whole interview. Was he said, when you want to when you want to develop yourself and you want to develop a team, the most important thing for that team to understand is that each individual has to own their own development plan, and that no matter what happens, you have to be responsible for your own actions. You can't say, okay, well, I didn't do this because he wouldn't let me do that. You have to be responsible for your own actions. You have to be able to accept responsibility and own your own plan. You can't have someone else motivating you to do something. You have to be able to say, all right, this is my responsibility. This is my job to take the next step in this plan and this phase of my life, and being able to move on. And you just have to own it and take full responsibility for all your actions. So that was really important for me to understand and learn and grow from that. All right, so for my original work, I plan on doing a lot of research about leadership development programs, and hopefully understanding a little bit more about that. I plan on researching a group of 10, 15, maybe 20 of the greatest leaders in our history and their upbringings, and what they all had in common. Everyone looks at a Steve Jobs or a Bill Gates, or everyone, they're like, oh man, they're such great people. But the thing about them is, everyone comes from their own background. However, we all go through similar situations that make us who we are today. We all go through the different trials and tribulations that allow us to become, who we are today, and they forge us. So, obviously those great leaders, they're doing something right, and they have to have gone through something that makes them who they're that way. So, for my original work, I plan on researching, their background and their history, and finding out what correlates and how they all interacted, and what made them different, what made them the same. So that made them, and then potentially for my final product, creating some kind of leadership development program or something that incorporates those various events and experiences that allows someone else to grow from those same kind of experiences. Are there any questions? All right, thank you.